SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone. Today we will start about the physical methods, various physical methods. So in today's session, what we will try to do, we will try to understand that what are the varieties of physical methods are possible to conduct during our any kind of ergonomics workplace in analysis and evaluation. And when we are talking about any product evaluation, any system evaluation, what are the varieties of physical methods available and how do we practice them? So in this today's session, we will take an overview, and then from the next class onward, we will discuss each tool in detail and we will take some example as well. Okay, so let's understand what is the physical method, what are the varieties of things available in physical methods and why do we call it as physical methods. So if you look at the major definition of ergonomics, domains of ergonomics, we understand there are some component which talks about the physical domain of ergonomics and other part talks about the cognitive domains of ergonomics. Now whatever things are being covered in the area or domain of physical ergonomics, and when we are trying to measure them, assess them through some techniques and tools, we will call it as the physical methods and we will be considering or we will try to explain it or we will try to practice it in this particular set of lectures. Okay. So this if we talk about physical methods, we use them to assess the performance of work. Basically, we will try to understand the physical performance of particular work. So how much crucial that to the work, and it is used to obtain the essential surveillance data from the management of injury risk in that particular workforce. So whenever we are talking about physical methods in ergonomics, it talks lot of things related to physical injury, physical hazard, physical risk assessment and all those things. So if we look at the these all methods from a broader perspective, we will understand there are four basic major categories. Maybe these categories are for our understanding. However, we can have some more categorization or we can have subdivisions as well. But for our major understanding, so for our broader understanding, we divide it into four major categories. First category, which talks about the assessment of levels of musculoskeletal injury. So whenever we are talking about physical methods in ergonomics, first thing comes in our mind, that is the musculoskeletal disorder or injuries or discomforts related to musculoskeletal system. So whenever we are talking about the various assessment which gives an understanding, gives an level discrimination of the musculoskeletal injuries, that comes first. The second part, which is very important and crucial when we are in the physical domain of ergonomics, that is the posture, and posture which is related to the work performance. Okay, so posture, it's not during the leisure time. We are going to talk mainly about the posture which is connected to the work performance. So when you are doing some work, when you are performing some work, so in an occupational setup, what are the kind of posture we are adapting and how do we assess them, and what are the kind of impact may have due to such posture. Okay, so this is second. Third is the assessment of work effort and fatigue. Now when I am talking about physical method in ergonomics, so when somebody is physically active in a particular workplace or workspace, it always that we need to understand what kind of fatigue is getting how much fatigue the person is getting after completion of the work. Okay, so what is the kind of work effort he or she need to put forward to complete the job, and while doing so what is the kind of what I can say, what is the kind of level of fatigue is generated due to that kind of work exposure. Okay, so this is very important portion, and we have several methods, several understanding about it, and we are going to discuss that same in that particular sector. And last that we are going to discuss in this particular sector is the what are the possible injuries available, or what are the possible injuries can be can come up, or due to the risky activities or risky jobs in that particular work environment or workplace. So four major category. First we will try to understand about the musculoskeletal health of the worker, musculoskeletal injuries. The second we will be talking about the posture and the connection between the posture and the work performance. Third, we will be talking about the work effort and fatigue, and fourth we will be talking about the varieties of possible injuries in the workplace. So these are the major four sectors that we are going to discuss in the area where we are talking about the physical methods in this particular course. Now let us understand what are the varieties of techniques or tools we are going to discuss in each sector. So in today's class what we will do, we will try to get the overview what are the varieties of possible techniques are available. Okay. Now from the next class onwards what we will do, we will pick up one tool and we will practice it. So that way we will go into more detail, because if you look at varieties of ergonomics research specifically which is connected to varieties of occupational health, occupational risk. Okay, so physical methods are very important, and for the new researchers in the field of ergonomics, in the initial stage of their research is the physical risk assessment, physical different types of physical methods through which they try to understand what are the varieties of physical ergonomics concerns are there in that particular work area. So physical domain understanding in ergonomics is very important. So assessment of the level of musculoskeletal injury, under that mainly we will be talking about the musculoskeletal health and how do we assess them. So many musculoskeletal injuries begin where it starts, it begins with the workers experiencing discomfort. So if you go to the initial stage of your data collection in any place, when you start with the physical method, it first comes that what are the kind of pain, discomfort, strains are there or faced by the person or faced by the worker in a particular situation. So very first level of understanding is what are the kind of discomforts physical discomforts are available in that particular workplace which is faced by the worker. So if these type of things are being ignored, so if someone is having back pain, if someone is having neck pain, it's a very common discussion, right? So if those are being ignored, that can lead to the risk factors responsible for those discomforts. So you are not in a position, so you are not actually understanding or listening to the kind of discomfort they have. If you are not listening to the kind of discomfort they have, you will not be able to identify what are the causal factors or risk factors available in that particular workplace. So understanding the level of discomfort at the initial stage of your evaluation is very, very important. This will further lead to an increase in the severity of the symptoms. So if someone is saying in a 10-point scale that the discomfort is at level of 2 or 3, and someone is saying at the level of 7 or 8, and if you are not in a position to understand that and discriminate that, and if you don't take any action on that, then the ultimate productivity or ultimate performance of that person will definitely go down, and ultimately the whole system will suffer. So through these physical methods, we get an understanding about what is the kind of severities are present in those symptoms or level of symptoms. Okay. Then mild discomfort will gradually become more intense and will be experienced as a ache and pain. So this is a common feature. So maybe initial days it is not very difficult, you may try to ignore it. You means the operator may try to ignore it. However, if we keep on ignoring it, in the latter stage, maybe after few years or few months, it can cause lot of pain and discomfort, severe discomfort. Okay. So if these are not being checked, like not being corrected, then these aches and pain, that signal comes, what it happen, it will cause the cumulative trauma. So small ignorance will cause lot of problem and eventually may result in an actual musculoskeletal disorder or musculoskeletal injuries and serious nerve compression injuries. You may know that tendinitis, tenosynovitis, carpal tunnel syndrome, these are the varieties of musculoskeletal disorders can happen if you are not in a position being on ergonomics to identify them in the initial stage of your evaluation. So if we do not have any specific measurement tool or assessment tool to identify these musculoskeletal injuries, we will not be able to answer them in correct way. Okay, suppose there you can find lot of absenteeism in a particular workplace. You do not know what are the reasons for this absenteeism. The absenteeism may be something related to job, okay, something related to physical discomfort. Now, if you do not have a proper tool or proper method to identify that, you will not be able to answer it. So to do so, what will happen? You will be using these method that we are going to discuss. So what are the kind of varieties of questionnaire, varieties of tool or technique. So with this you will understand where the problem is lying and how it is possible for you being an ergonomics to answer it. Now, discomfort will also adversely affect the work performance either by decreasing the quantity of work through in increased error rate or decreasing the quality of work through increased error rate or both, either quantity wise or quality wise when you have an error, or it may happen both quantity and quality wise you are doing some error, and there is a reduction in the whole performance. Okay, so that is why it is very, very essential for an ergonomist in the initial stage where a lot of physical activities are present in any occupational setup. You need to understand what are the varieties of problems are lying, and how do you measure them. So before you go for the measures, you have to identify what are the levels and what are the varieties of those problems. Okay. So reducing the level of discomfort actually decreases the risk of any injury occurring. So if you initially reduce that discomfort itself, you are actually reducing the chances of chances of occurrence of those risk or injuries. So changes in level of discomfort can also be used to gauge the success of the design. So if you have a new design, so for any ergonomic product or the implementation of an ergonomic product program intervention. Okay, so these are the benefit where you should use the physical assessment tool, and you can have a better workplace or better product design. So if we talk about musculoskeletal injury assessment and level of that musculoskeletal injury, we majorly talk about pliable, NIOSH discomfort survey and Dutch musculoskeletal survey. These are the three very strong tool which we use at the initial level if we want to identify or we want to assess the musculoskeletal injuries. Now these are not only the three tools, there are many other tools. I will name few of them, and also there are, apart from that also there are many, depending on the kind of objectives you have to identify which tool is necessary for you. Now through this particular class you will understand the basic information about these tools. Okay. Now similar tool may also be available and which may be very much connected to your objective, then you need to choose that particular tool, not these tools. Okay. It's absolutely depend that what is your objective and what are those tools talking about. So it is not possible that all available tool I will be discussing, majorly used tool only I will be discussing here. So pliable, US NIOSH discomfort survey and Dutch musculoskeletal survey. So let us understand what these are and what it talks about. Of course, I will take you in the next class with more detail. So what is pliable? It's one of the very easy method, very easy method, and it's also very old method, early method. Okay. So comprised with item checklist, there are varieties of items available derived from the comprehensive review of the ergonomics literature. So what they have done, they have list of checklist, list of items in a particular checklist, and all these variables which are being discussed in this pliable, all are derived from all musculoskeletal health related literature. So it allows workers to systematically assess the workplace ergonomics hazards associated with 5 body regions that we are going to discuss, and results can serve as a basis for discussion on improvements to the job design. Okay. So the next major tool is NIOSH discomfort survey. It's also very popular tool, and it has lot of testing related to reliability, validity, and it is it's not very context specific, so that is why it is very well accepted. Okay, very well accepted tool. So what it says, that it allows to easily assess measures of musculoskeletal discomfort in numerous body regions based on intensity, frequency and duration of discomfort. Three major component, that is the intensity of the pain or intensity of the discomfort, frequency of the discomfort and how long that discomfort is. So under these three major category, it try to understand the discomfort level of that particular person in a particular environment. So that is all about NIOSH discomfort survey. The third important tool in this particular section is Dutch musculoskeletal survey. What it says? It says one of the most comprehensive, very much compact in nature and thoroughly validated survey measure. It's mainly a survey tool. Okay. Short and long forms depend on the intent of its use. So it has very lengthy version as well, one lengthy version which is almost about 16 pages, whereas you have a small version which has less content. So depending on how intensely you want to do the survey, how rigorously you want to do the survey, you can choose any one of them. Okay, so either short form or long form, and it comprises a collection of scales that deal with a broad range of workplace ergonomics hazard. So analytical software is also available with this particular survey tool, because the author who developed this particular survey or this particular tool, they have a software as well. So if you want, you can buy it and you can use it. Otherwise in normal process, in a hard copy format also, you can analyze it by yourself. Apart from these three technique, pliable, NIOSH survey questionnaire and the Dutch musculoskeletal questionnaire, there are one more important tool in this particular sector is the Cornell musculoskeletal discomfort survey. It was developed by the Alan Hegre at Cornell University. That's why this name is Cornell musculoskeletal discomfort survey, and these questionnaires are based on the various published literature or various published research studies of musculoskeletal discomfort among the office worker. So here the concern is only office workers. So mostly people who are in sedentary work population. Okay. So it is not very much applicable when somebody working in a very physical activity like construction, then maybe shop floor, or maybe somewhere automobile industry where a lot of physical activities are there. For those cases maybe it is not useful. However, it never says it is not useful. Okay, you need to validate it for your context, but mainly it is developed for the office workers. And the scoring of the questionnaire should be self-evident to anyone familiar with this type of research. So that also you can use. One more important questionnaire, very similar, these two are. Actually, it is first one is developed in 1987 and then it is modified in 1992. So the standard Nordic questionnaire, which was developed by Konica in 1987, this also you can use. It is also very simple method, similar to the kind of tool which is in the NIOSH musculoskeletal disorder questionnaire. Okay, so here also you can have rating, intensity, intensity level or frequency in different body parts, and also you try to you may get an understanding about the prevalence data in terms of point prevalence, weekly prevalence, and annual prevalence. The same one, like standard Nordic musculoskeletal questionnaire or Nordic questionnaire, was little bit modified and published again in 1992, and it is termed as Nordic musculoskeletal questionnaire. Again, it is actually an evaluated version of SNQ. Okay, so these questionnaires are very popular, and I think whoever is working in the field of ergonomics, especially physical ergonomics, these are common to them. Okay, so these are the initial set of tool to understand the status of musculoskeletal health in a particular workplace. Correct? Now let us go ahead with the next step, that is the posture. So whenever we are talking about musculoskeletal health or musculoskeletal discomfort, it is very associated incident with incidence of posture. So if your posture is not correct, or I would rather say is not neutral, is awkward in nature, you are continuing it for an exposed hours, there will be definitely a impact on your musculoskeletal health. So if you understand there is an issue with the musculoskeletal health or musculoskeletal injuries, which we can understand from our previous set of questions or previous set of techniques, definitely it will lead you to evaluate your posture of or working posture of that particular group of people or particular group of worker. So let us understand how do we do that and what are the varieties of methods available. So posture is an observable reflection of musculoskeletal activity. Of course, the how you are holding your musculoskeletal system. So if you are sitting, that what is the kind of situations are available of your musculoskeletal system, what is the conditions of various muscles while sitting in a particular workplace, or even if you are standing, or if you are lying on a bed. Okay, what is the kind of condition are there for the whole musculoskeletal system. So these methods will allow the ergonomist to assess risk. You have to assess the risk by the systemic observation alone. So you have to do it systematically, one by one, maybe initially neck, then trunk, then wrist, and then not only the position, also what kind of load it is carrying, what kind of frequency it is occupying, what is the kind of duration it is holding. Okay, all these systematic observation or systematic evaluation. So how do we do that? Mainly we at the very initial days we used to do on the spot observation. However, due to technological advancement, we can have videography, or you can have a photograph and you can do the posture evaluation. Now you need to understand the neutral zone. So every body segment moves through a range of motion, right? So suppose I am talking about my neck. This neck also has some specific range of motion. So I can move forward, that is flexion, then I can move backward, that is extension, side bending, on the right side, left side, I can rotate my leg, that is on the left side, again right side. So in every angle we have some kind of natural movement, not only for neck, for my trunk, for my elbow, for my shoulder, every joints we can have some kind of range, right, through where we can move those body parts, even our fingers, right. So each joints can move. Okay. So every body segments move through their range of motion, that is very natural. Okay. Within this zone, the anatomical stress and strain are insufficient to initiate an injury process. So if they are in a particular zone, in a natural zone, then there will be no difficulties or no problem. However, if it is extending or it is going beyond to that particular natural zone, then definitely there will be some problem, and these posture evaluation tools will help you to understand those areas and what is the level of those problems are. So excursion away from this natural zone, if you are beyond that natural zone, if it is more than then the injuries are more. If it is less, injuries are less. So what is the kind of level of destruction you need to identify through these tools. Also frequently the frequency of those postures. So frequently repeated or sustained. So here very important thing, if an awkward posture, you are holding it for longer hours, then also it is problem. Also if you are occupying that repeatedly, then also it's a problem. So you have to understand what is the optimum duration of exposure. So posture itself is a problem or itself is an issue to discuss, but when it is connected to your duration of exposure, it is again one more variable to identify and analyze. Okay. Also identify the corrective action before the worker is exposed into particular discomfort. So these are the things we will be doing in the posture assessment. So this is a figure, this is a figure which is developed in the, it's a digital human model in CATIA V software. What here it tried to give you, tried to explain these all green zones. Okay, green zones are comfortable zone. Okay, these green zones are comfortable zone, whereas these red zones are not comfortable zone or dangerous zone or risky zone. So the total colored areas indicate the range of motion for flexion and extension of the shoulder joint. Only for the right hand, for this shoulder joint, this is the kind of possible movement region. Okay, this is total possible. Whereas green zones, as I mentioned earlier, these green zones are neutral zone and red zones are the dangerous zone. Now here, if someone is working in these green zones, definitely they are safe. However, if that is being continued for recommended hours, then that may create a problem. Whereas if someone is working in these red zones, that itself is a problem, and if it is associated with more number of hours, then it is a bigger problem. So frequently repeated away from this green area or sustained excursion of right hand in any red areas for the extended period may cause the increase the risk of musculoskeletal injury and the musculoskeletal injury in that particular shoulder joint. Okay, so this way we can understand it. Now under this particular sector, that is the assessment of posture, we will be talking about quick exposure checklist, or we call it QEC, RULA, REBA, very easy method and many of us already must have used it, and the strain index. So what is what these tools talk about. Of course, we will take all these tools separately in next class. For today's class, we will try to understand what these tools talks about. So, quick exposure checklist or QEC, it allows to quick assessment of exposure to risk for work related musculoskeletal disorder. It is used to analyze interaction between various workplace risks. So, from QEC, we actually try to understand the workplace risk. First is what is the level of discomfort or level of level of risk, and then what are the associated workplace factors which is causing that risk, that we get from QEC. From RULA, it's very posture targeting method, and it helps us to analyze the sedentary work like seated posture. So, RULA is essentially a tool which can evaluate a particular posture level or intensity of that posture only at this sitting workstation. So, if you are sitting in a place table chair arrangement, then only RULA is applicable. If whole body work is there, like somebody is using whole body to do a particular job, that case this particular tool is not applicable. In that you have to go for REBA. The name itself says rapid entire body assessment. So, REBA. So, REBA is again very much posture targeting tool and ideal for the standing work. Standing work means whole body work. So, if you are not dynamic work, but if you are standing and doing the job. Strain index is very comprehensive method, and it focuses on the risk for developing the distal upper extremities musculoskeletal disorder, specifically elbow, forearm, wrist and hand. So, these are the four major method that we will be discussing. Apart from that, we know we have OVACU working posture analysis system, that is we call it OPAS or OAS, and portable ergonomic observation method PEO. Okay. So, this was, that is the OVACU working posture analysis system, it says direct observation and sampling, it talks about the direct observation and do the sampling from that, and then using the whole body posture coding system to estimate the injury risk. So, this particular method actually developed in 1977. These RULA, REBA, these are very new method. It is in 1993. Yes, it is 1993. This is 2001 probably, need to check the year, but it is somewhere in 2000. Whereas, if you look at WAS, it is 1977. Okay, it's a very old method. Still people practice it. However, if you look at the current scenario, most of the works, industry 4.0 or any other context, if you look at, the postures are more sedentary in nature. So, RULA is a dominant tool in current scenario. Now, coming to the work effort and fatigue. You understood all about the musculoskeletal injury or musculoskeletal health assessment and then posture. Now, we are going to talk about work effort and fatigue. So, the performance of work in more deviated posture invariably requires more muscular effort. It's obvious, if you have more deviation in posture, you need more effort to be performed. Okay, and if you have more effort to perform to hold those particular posture, you are actually going to get the fatigue. Okay, it may accelerate the muscular fatigue, of course, right. If you need lot of effort to hold a particular posture, those group of muscle will be fatigued after some time. So two major methods that we are going to discuss and which will help you to quantify the effort and fatigue are the Borg's rating of perceived exertion scale and the muscle fatigue assessment method, or MFA. So what Borg's rating of perceived exertion scale? So it talks about the physiologically validated method. It's all about the physiologically validated method. I'll discuss it, like it has RPE scale, the rate of perceived exertion, which is very much linear and which is connected to your heart rate, whereas CR10 scale, which is not connected to not really directly connected to the heart rate, however it has an elaborate understanding that how it is being used and how it can tell you about the rate of exertion. Okay, it quantifies how much effort is involved in performing a particular physical task or physical job. Okay. Muscle fatigue assessment, it characterizes the discomfort and identifies the ways that workers change their behavior in an attempt to cope up with the accumulated fatigue. So if there is an accumulated fatigue, because of course if you are continuing the work with without proper recovery period, there will be an accumulation in your fatigue level and you will be able to get the discomfort, and you will be that will reflect on your performance. So this particular tool, that is the MFA, will help you to understand these areas. So both these methods are invaluable to the successful design of any physical job. So when you are talking about designing the work rest cycle or designing the timing of the work process, all those things, these tools are very helpful. So it will help you to understand the pace of work, it will help you to understand the what is the kind of gap need to be there from one step to another step, what are all those areas where which will help to recover any kind of fatigue from one job to another. So all those things you can understand using these tools. Neither the quantity nor quality of work performance will suffer over the course of a work shift if you use this tool to assess the situation and implement a proper intervention program. So the worker will not experience undue physical demand or fatigue that could increase the risk of any injury or accident. Now coming to the last portion of physical assessment, that is the injury risk in workplace. Whatever the possible identification and assessing the possible injury risk in workplace. So we will be talking about, mainly these are related to a lot of physical activity. So Snook stable, lumbar motion method, Okra and Mapo. These four we will be discussing. However, there are many more. It's like it's a pool. It's a big pool. So you can choose any one of them which is similar or similar to these, or which is more context specific to your area of research. Okay. However, we will be discussing these four because these are majorly used tool. So such methods are used to predict the risk of potentially accurate injuries, mainly with the related to back. They set safe limits on work and predict how changes in a job will impact the level of safety. So let us understand what is Snook table. It mainly try to assess the back injury risk. Okay, possible risk for back injury, that it try to give you an understanding. It set safe weight limits for men and women performing lifting, pushing, pulling, all these varieties of tasks. So, it gives an understanding what should be the limit of a person if they are performing any pulling, lifting, lowering, all those such type of jobs. Lumbar motion method, by name itself you can understand, it talks about your trunk, it talks about your lower back. So, it's a very much instrumental method, you need to have those instrument with you. So, it provides more direct measurement of the dynamic components of the low back disorders risk at work. Okay, so it based on a on a system which called is lumbar motion monitor. We will describe it. So, using that we will get an more detailed understanding what are the major risks available or what are the kind of factors affecting your lower back in a particular workplace. OKRA, a detailed analytical and reliable method, it predicts the upper extremity injury risk in exposed work population, and it is used as the basis for identifying the opportunities for task and the workstation redesign, evaluating the success of any intervention. Now, here you can understand from Snook table what you do, it only helps you to understand the pulling, pushing, lowering and all these types of job which is related to some weight lifting. Lumbar motion method, it helps you to understand only the lower back, risk associated with lower back. OKRA help you to understand only the upper extremity, mainly the distal upper extremity. Whereas MAPO, it is mainly concentrating with the healthcare workplace, okay, in hospital situation mainly. Okay, so actually it is developed in that particular setup. It assesses the greatest risk for developing a lower back injury. It talks about lower back but mainly from the healthcare sector. For workers involved in care and handling the disabled patient and paralyzed patient. Now, people may ask that why not LMM, why MAPO? Now, question is LMM never talks about the human interaction between one person, the handler and the handling element. Whereas MAPO talks about the healthcare worker, the kind of human factors are present, while handling patient. So, there is difference. So, it is not only handling some weight, it is not only handling some material, it is handling human. Okay, that is why it is very, very different than any other tool. It also incorporate the assessment of the work environment. So, MAPO is very, very specific to the healthcare facilities. So, these are the major tools that we are going to discuss. However, I will name many more, whereas you have to take them up by yourself, you have to study them up by yourself to understand what are the details, and if required, definitely you can come back to us in discussion session, you can write back to us in whatever the email IDs and discussion forums are, and we can definitely give you the solution, because in this particular course it is really not possible to cover each and every tool available in literature. Whatever majorly used tool, that we are going to discuss, and in the next class onwards what I will do, I will take one tool separately and I will explain them regarding their process, regarding their implementation, and how the data looks like, and what are the possible way to interpret them, and how to start the intervention based on those interpretation. Okay. So, thank you for today. Next class we will start for the each tool. Thank you.